Okay, welcome to the Young Entrepreneur Syndicate tonight, Monday night. Feels like spring is in the air in some places, not necessarily here in Montana, but I think our minds start shifting into that seasonal mode and your business and how things are going, where they're going. And tonight's going to be one of those calls. I'm going to be talking about getting on the offense with your business. So hopefully if you're listening to this at a later date, or if you show up late, you'll listen to the beginning of this because this is going to be an important lesson. And what this is coming from, as a reminder, I work with several other clients, companies on a larger scale, and I had the opportunity to record a podcast magazine the other day called Tequila Aficionado, a group of guys I've known for a really long time in the tequila business. And we were talking about, just companies that have come and went in that world and, what happened to this brand, what happened to that brand, what they do wrong. And it was a great conversation, but it really makes you dig into, why do brands survive? What does happen to the ones that go away? Why did they go away? What were their expectations when they started that business? And, I hate to beat the drum every single time, but it oftentimes just goes back to, what did your foundation look like? What was your original business plan? What structure did you have in play? And what kind of money did you have to actually launch that business? It's amazing to me in this day and age, how many people look to start a business with zero capital. They just feel like they're going to go after it and it's not going to take any money. They've seen people make all these big dollars on the internet, supposedly. I'm going to start a marketing company, pushing stuff online on Instagram and make all this crazy money. That's not the way that it works. That's not reality. So I'd like to ask everybody to take a step back and look at their businesses and their business plans and what their foundation looks like. There was one company in particular we talked about in this podcast show, and it was a tequila company, but they also had some mezcals. They literally launched their company with 7 SKUs in their portfolio. Now, that might not seem like a lot in the retail world, with hats and shirts and things like that. But in the tequila business, typically people start with 1 or 2 SKUs, definitely not 7. There was a fair amount of arrogance behind the brand. They had spent a lot of money on a business plan, which most don't do. So I was impressed by that. They had some money in the business, probably not enough. I'll say that. They had a great formula. They had beautiful bottles, but they didn't have a team. What they did have is a whole hell of a lot of arrogance about how they were going to take the business by storm and everybody's going to buy their product and all their friends and family and all the people that they knew were going to buy their product. And at the end of the day, none of that happened. Matter of fact, it was so bad that the owner of the brand spent the bulk of her time on the island of St. Thomas at her estate over there, expecting that the one other employee would be out selling all the product. And what's unfortunate about that is that partnership dissolved very quickly because it wasn't a value for value exchange in the partnership. And the person that was sitting back at her estate on St. Thomas felt disgusted with the lack of that person's ability to go out and sell and the lack of the distributor and their not willing, their lack of willingness to sell the product. So the point of telling you all this is that this brand very quickly got on the defense for a poorly executed business plan. And one of the first things that I talked to them about as a client was who was going to be out in the streets and gave them the warnings of the distributor doesn't sell for them. They've got to go out and hit the streets, wear out the soles of their shoes, knocking on doors. And so this brand wound up dissolving within a few months. And again, this was one of the brands we talked about on the podcast, how sad it was because the product was amazing. The bottles were amazing. The marketing was amazing. But the execution of the sales side of it fell really, really short, and the business suffered from it. So that leads me to the topic tonight, and that is getting on the offense of your business and what that looks like. And I'm going to show you some tools, and I'm happy to put these up on our website or ask Rachel to do it for me as she does so eloquently. But these are going to be very helpful for you in building your business and taking a snapshot of what it should look like. And Rachel and I are working on a client, and this is before things got started. So I'm happy to share this with you because we're in a different space now. But the first thing I want to show you, let Taylor in here. The first thing I want to show you is what we're calling a marketing timeline. And this can just be a business timeline. And what's great about this tool is you see it's all 0 percentages, and you see the opportunity that we can increase those percentages based on the work or the task that's been done. So when you look at a marketing timeline and the topics that we have here, and go ahead and screenshot that or take notes or whatever you feel like doing. Like I said, we can put this on the back end so that you can refer to a later date. But when you look at your business snapshot, okay, or if you're working for a company and you want to bring some value to them and you're not quite sure how, well, you can almost use this in the same way that we used it to have a timeline of activities that we wanted to do, right? So first of all, new client, we needed account access to all their stuff. They didn't have a brand guideline, so we built out a brand guideline, website audits, updates, email audit updates, et cetera, et cetera. You get the idea. This is a way that you can do a temperature check on the business in the state of being on the offensive side of the game here, not waiting for a problem to flush out, with an email audit or poor website, or not having the tools on the website, or a public relations issue, right? Or realizing you didn't have any affiliate links on your website and you have 4 other companies, or you work for a company that's got 3 other companies. It might make sense to have affiliates on there. Or you might be looking to build out an affiliate program to expand your reach. Maybe you have an opportunity of collateral or branded merchandise, but you don't, or the company doesn't. It's a great opportunity to do a temperature check on your business and get on the offense for what you're doing. And so why do I say that the offense is so important? Why do I pop up a tool like this for you to consider in your business? It's because I find so often, especially when you look at, the potential of a recession or high inflation rates this year, going into a political cycle that's becoming very divisive already, and we're only in February, there's going to be a lot of distractions outside of your business that's going to derail you from what you're doing. What I do is I take the offense approach to my businesses. We can anticipate what's going to happen. We can prepare for that and get ahead of it, so we're not playing defense all year. I was just telling Chris that I met somebody in the gold and silver business, and he's looking at expanding his operations. And he says, Jim, he goes, we know Trump's going to get elected. I said, yeah, he probably is. He's got a lot of momentum right now. He says, if he gets elected, my business is going to go to the tanks. People aren't going to be worried anymore. They're not going to be buying gold and silver. I mean, he had a list of reasons why he felt like his business was going to go in the tanks. I said, well, Scott, if we can presume at this point, based on all the factors, that Trump's going to get elected, how do we combat that from an offense position the next 9 months, the next 10 months, so that your business doesn't suffer, right? And, this was a casual conversation, it was a business meeting, and we talked through several ways that he can combat the election cycle or the change in administration based on our presumptions and his business. Now, if things don't change the way that he's anticipating, he can fall back on the way that he's always done stuff. But if they do, he's already working a plan to get ahead of it, right? And that's a good example of how we get on the offense and build strategies around what the future might look like. It's also why we talk a lot about, whether that's in our podcast or on these meetings on Monday nights, about a little bit of the political cycle, what inflation looks like, what recession looks like, what your surrounding areas look like, whether that's your city or things that are happening around you, because these all affect your business. And if you're paying attention or if you're out in it, you'll understand what it's going to take to build a plan to stay on the offense. All right. I'm going to show you another document. Again, some of Rachel's great work. Pop this up here. This document, Heidi, I know you just jumped on. We're talking about getting on the offense in your business. This document is what we call a programming calendar. Okay, this is an actual client. Topics are updated and changed. Again, this was an day one meeting document that we had to build out. So I'm happy to share it with everybody here. I would highly recommend that you build out a document like this for your business. And what this is it's a programming calendar for the next 12 months. All right. So we started this in January. This will give you an idea for your business, what you're going to be doing for the next 12 months. Now, this isn't just about marketing. Okay. What you will see outside of the great pictures Rachel picked on the bottom and the taglines is that you're going to see opportunities to garner sales in advance with supporting elements. And so the way this programming calendar would work is you would analyze your business. Okay, look at what happens in your business cycle for the year, and then build out some marketing activities to support that. All right, so because I've got Heidi on screen there, you know, January is always the big month when people want to get healthy, right? So in December, you're anticipating a January launch of, hey, let's get back in the gym, let's hire the trainer, let's get in shape, you know, new goals for 2024, et cetera, et cetera. Now, so she builds out basically a marketing schedule for January, what that looks like, you know, getting back to basics, whatever your tagline is. Maybe you run a special, you know, entry special for January 2024 only. So 50% off coaching rates, whatever that hook's going to be, you know, in December, what you're going to be doing in January, and you start building up that momentum on your social media, conversationally, you're ready to launch it on your website come January 1. You've got the plan in play. All right. Now take her business a little bit further. Everybody wants to get their beach body on. So now we're coming into April. Maybe we're going to do a 30-day program in May. So when June hits, we're ready to throw our bikini on or take our shirt off, guys, and be ready to look good at the beach, right? So Heidi can build out some momentum for the month of May leading up to her June program, or the month of April leading up to May, so that you're ready for June, whatever that looks like. And you've got it built out already. So come the first of the month, you hit the switch, everything turns on, and you're building your way into that. And the intent behind this programming calendar, besides just the messaging theme, which you can see is colorized there by month, you also have the promotion opportunity, which is what you're going to talk about. Super easy to pull up your Google Calendar or your Outlook calendar. It's already preloaded all the holidays coming up. So if your business is dependent on holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Memorial, Father's, Mother's Day, etc., you can leverage those calendar dates to start to build this out. Or if you've been in business long enough to build out trends, you can use those trends to build this out. Now, where we can add on to the programming calendar is the sales side of it. And the sales side could be, first of all, sales discounts or sales prices. You know, so going back to Heidi, maybe in May, she's going to do a 25% off. Or one person joins, second person gets 50% off, or second person's free, whatever that looks like. She can, plan on it, build out the marketing materials for it, get her social media ready for it, but also equally important, she can budget for it. She can say, okay, I know per client, we're going to bring in less money because we're doing this 2-for-1, but if I get them to stick in June, I'm going to make up that revenue. And then the goal is to get them to stick through the summer, knowing that the average client lasts 90 days before they stop showing up to the gym. You know, so by the time we get to September, I've earned great revenue over the summer. Everybody looks good. And hopefully you've maintained 20% of what you picked up in May, whatever those numbers are. But by programming, you can also leverage your sales forecast, your revenue forecast, and you can take your marketing dollars, if you've budgeted for marketing dollars, and you can input those marketing dollars into the column where you're given the discounts, right? So that it offsets your revenue. So there's a lot of ways that you can use this programming calendar to map out your year. All right. People don't put enough value into looking at a 6 or 12-month snapshot in their businesses. And there's not a single person on this call that can't utilize this tool, because this tool works for everybody. What's also great about this is at the bottom, you see some pictures down there. Those pictures are thematic of your messaging, the coloration, the tone, etc. So it's a reminder as you're building out your calendar and your assets, you know, for your messaging or your social media posts, that you've got some brand cohesiveness. Now, we can probably do another class later. Maybe Rachel can lead it on building out a brand guide so that you're consistent. But this is another document that supports that and keeps you in the same line, so that your customer's not looking at things going, where did this come from? This is out of left field, right? Obviously, we're not going to utilize black and whites to promote this brand when we're utilizing actual high quality photos, right? Based on what we've done here. Now, the other thing that you're going to want to do with this programming calendar is, come September, you want to start thinking about 2025. You want to start building out what the next year looks like. You want to be taking good notes as you're going through your calendar each month, like, hey, this worked, this didn't work. If you're going to jump in and get really savvy, you're going to look at, you know, maybe the hot spots on your website and go, okay, these words trended. I'd like to add these words in again later on. Or more people visited this part of my website. I want to make sure that I include that programming on a regular basis. So there's a lot of ways that you can use this to take notes, see where maybe you've got some shortcomings based on real data as you complete a month or you complete a couple months. Then you can start taking the tool and building it out so it's far more valuable than what meets the eye, especially if you become disciplined with it. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing on that. Again, if you guys want us to, we can probably plug that in on the back end so you've got a resource there. Build your own version of that, whether that's on Excel or Canva or whatever tools you have. The next point I want to make about building out your programming is it allows you, again, theme of the night was to be on the offense for your business, but it also allows you to perfect your messaging and what you're putting out in public. And on top of that, being patient and persistent in your business. Andy Frisella did a great podcast the other day. Let me tell you what number it was. It's got like a new theme. He's calling it audio exclusive. It was audio exclusive 01, how patience really works in life and business. And what I loved about that message is that it supports what we're talking about here. And that is being patient with your plan, your business plan, your forecast, and what you're doing, but be aggressive in your patience. And when I look at this and I'm talking to you about how you can utilize this tool, when I say be aggressive in your business is do a good job filling out the data points, looking back at the month that you just completed and how you can utilize that data to be better down the road, and understanding that being patient is part of being in business. It takes a while for the consumer or your customer to find you, utilize you, refer you, buy again, get through a complete sales cycle, etc. So use the calendar to be aggressively patient so that you're always doing something to build your business. And this is one of those tools that you can be the best that you can be. So I'm a huge fan of the programming calendar. And here's the last thing I'll say about that. And Rachel, I'm going to let you talk in a minute because I know you're going to have to get off camera. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because, well, you helped build that out for me a couple years ago. If you're in the business of raising capital with investors, or B, working with distributors are people that are going to sell your product for you. A programming calendar gives you the ability to show that potential partner that you know what you're doing and you've mapped out your business in advance. And I'll give you an example. This would actually work really good for retail, clothing, apparel, especially if you're going to sell through a store. This might work for books. This would actually work for real estate if you're doing things in advance, or rentals and things like that. But in the alcohol business, you have a buyer, he's never seen you before, you show up with your product, and he's like, great, looks awesome. I can't do anything with that right now, maybe in 60, 90 days, because I'm loaded up on other stuff. Okay, well, hey, let me pull out my programming calendar and show you what we're doing in 90 days from now. Here's our promotions for June, July, August. So if you were to bring my product on in May, we'll be able to give you all these tools that you can utilize to sell our product in your restaurant or in your store. And on social media, we're going to be promoting it over here to drive traffic and consumer interest that will ultimately make it to your store as well. Oh, and by the way, we've got some pricing discounts scheduled for July. So if we're in June, you can take advantage of it in July. And then in August, we've got a promotion that's going to happen in stores, and we'll bring the promotional models out, and they'll do tastings and all that stuff. All of a sudden, the buyer's going, oh my gosh, you've done all my work for me. Yeah, sign me up. Don't forget to call me in May. I want to do this in the summer. Because people are inherently lazy when it comes to selling your products, right? If you can give them the tools to do it for you, they're more happy to buy what you're selling, okay? And think about how that's relevant in your own businesses, especially if you're in the service business, Wayne with your pool service, Heidi with your coaching. You know, there's lots of things that you can do for clients in advance to get them hooked longer on your services. You know, like, hey, look, I know that, you know, we're just halfway through February. In May, I'm going to be running this great special about getting ready for summertime, your summer bod, Heidi, you know. So if you're still with us in May, this is what we're going to be doing. Oh, and by the way, if you want to pay in advance, you're going to get a 10% discount. All of a sudden, like, well, hell, I'm going to stick it out till May. I want my summer body. Boom. They've just bought a program. They've just paid in advance 5 months of your coaching, right? Wayne, maybe in May, you're offering a discount on pool supplies and things that you might need to clean the pools, or chlorines and stuff like that. All of a sudden, they're like, yeah, I'll pay in advance if I'm going to get a discount on that. You know, that seems to make sense. So in any business, you can leverage this tool because you know what's going to happen down the road. Can't think of any business that this doesn't bring value to, right? And especially, this will be the last example of how that works, is if you're going to be raising capital for your business with investors, and you're sitting around the table there, and you're asking for a sum of money, and they're like, well, I like your business plan. I think what you're telling me about the sales could be true. I mean, they're just numbers. I like you a lot, but how are you going to sell this? How are we going to make money? Oh, well, let me show you this, right? All of a sudden, your brand comes alive with photos and a calendar of activities and events. Like, oh, wow, you've thought the whole year through. You know exactly what we're going to be doing. How could we not sell more widgets with this type of plan being mapped out? And you look at this, and it's pretty, and it's well thought out, and it's got taglines, and it's got, specials and all those other things. You could add a few more lines here, the sales incentives, etc. You can add growth models to this as well. So when you're in front of an investor, that's a great way to get them over the top, because they know that you've thought about everything, right? So in conclusion on this, get on the offense. The best way we can get on the offense is to pre-plan our sales opportunities, our marketing opportunities, our messaging opportunities, and what tools we're going to use. On that particular document, it didn't say what tools we were going to use, because we have that on another one, but that could be Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. It might only be one of those. plus print ads. It might even just be a PR campaign where you're reaching out to get interviews on podcasts so you can talk about what you're doing, build up your name recognition. So all those tools can be incorporated into that. So when you sit down at your desk, like, okay, what am I going to do today? Boom, it's right in front of you. You know what you're going to do for the next 12 months. And as the year starts to wind up, start mapping out what you're going to do the following year, look at what worked, what didn't work, and move forward. Again, there's not anybody on this call that this won't benefit from. I'm also looking at Chris on here. He's in the gold and silver business. There's tons of ways that he can leverage this. So, all right, Rachel had to switch from her computer to her phone. I think we've got her on her phone now. Rachel, if you want to confirm that you got us.
Yes.
Perfect.
I'm back. Right.
Well, I killed 3 minutes for you.
Perfect. Great.
Anyways, so Rachel, I would love to hear your thoughts on a programming calendar. I know we developed one of these years ago for some alcohol brands, and we've kind of transcended that. I know you had a version of that for your stuff, but talk for a minute about the value of that, and then we'll go to you, Rod, and then please have some questions ready, whether it's about this or anything else. So go ahead, Rachel.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that the programming calendar is going to work differently if you're a one-man band versus if you have a sales team. So first I want to talk about, and quickly, I think most of us here are in the like solopreneur or like small parts of our business. So I'm going to quickly touch on if it's a large company and you have a sales team, a programming calendar is a great way to keep a lot of people all on the same page. And singing from the same song sheet and incentivizing your salespeople. So that is great when you're on a big team. Now, when you're on a small team and it's just you, or there's you and a couple other people, the thing that I really like is it leads the client and it leads your team, and it shows them that you're thinking ahead. And I like to use it not just for like the 50,000 foot view of broad strokes of where things are going, but I like to look at it as this is how we're going to be talking across all of our different platforms. This is going to impact our social media content calendars. This is going to impact our, hang on, can you still see me?
Yep.
Okay. This is going to impact your email programming. This is going to impact the promotions or pop-ups on your website. If you're giving a podcast that month, it gives you a key topic to talk about. If you're writing a blog, it gives you a key topic. So I would take those topics or promotions and then make sure that all of your integrated marketing communications are singing from that same song sheet. And it holds you accountable and it keeps you thinking ahead. So you're not surprised like, oh my God, I totally forgot that St. Patrick's Day was coming up, or that, National Donut Day was coming up. It's like, you've thought ahead about this, and the big things and the little things. And I like to do it on like that big placemat that Jim showed you. That's what I call it. I print it on an 11 by 17 because it folds in half. So then it's 8.5 by 11, and it goes in my Go book that I keep with me, that I can easily access. The other piece of paper that I keep on a one-sheeter that I keep in my Go book is my my brand DNA, and that is kind of like your brand guidelines, but it's on one page. Your fonts, your colors, your values, your language, your photo stuff. That way, when you're out and about and someone gives you a great idea, and sometimes you're like, oh my God, yeah, like that's something sparkly and shiny and new. Yeah, let's do it. And you're like, wait a minute, let me double check. Is that on brand? Does it match my programming calendar? Does it match what I've said I'm going to do? Or is it going to distract me from achieving the goals that I set out? And or do I want to work it into the future and be like, yes, that was a great idea. It does work, or it doesn't work. So those are two tools that I definitely keep with me for the year and trying to think ahead. And was there anything else, Jim, that I missed?
No, that was good. I just wanted you to reinforce why we do it and the power of that tool. And again, I think just like a business plan, these things keep you on. It's your guide, keeps you going the right direction, especially as easy as it is to get distracted and go somewhere off track. or you're sitting there going, what did I do wrong? You can go back to these tools and figure that out. So thanks, Rachel. Go ahead, Rod.
Well, a couple of takeaways. This is incredible. You really had my historical cap churning on this topic tonight, Jim. I first want to recap and say, by being on offense, and Rachel, you hammered this point home. All it really means is that you're thinking ahead. And the opposite of thinking ahead is flying by the seat of your pants. Mm-hmm. And nobody wants to be in that situation. So the tools that you've given us tonight, Jim, are just, it's phenomenal. And I have to say, because I'm going backward in time, and I'm thinking about my career in retail. And I used to be so far ahead of the game in retail. And that was the key to my success. And I may have mentioned this before. I used to do what I called the no fake snow sale. And what that was is the first major dump of snow that we had. I had a pre-printed newspaper insert already done up with all of my key products for major winter. And so it's kind of like the tire companies. You know, for those of you who live out here in the Northwest, you know, if you want to get your snow tires on after the first snowfall, good luck, because everybody goes at that time. So I planned way ahead. I had inserts at the newspaper office for insert. I had all of them pre-printed and ready to go months and months in advance, because when the first storm hit, I picked up the phone and said, they go in tomorrow. Mm-hmm. It was that simple, just watching the weather. And those sorts of things put me so far ahead of the competition. We had growth every single year, even when other people were going out of business. It was, and even when I had more competition coming in. So the other thing, Jim, and I think you need to coin this term. This is a Rileyism right here. Aggressively patient. And you think about that. Most of us, we want to learn patience, but there's passive patience and there's aggressive patience. And in business, we need to get a mindset of aggressively patient. And that term, I've never heard that before, Jim. So if you borrowed that from someone, take your hat off, but I'm giving it to you tonight. I think it's just absolutely phenomenal. And the other thing, looking at a calendar like that, and again, from, you know, every business has ups and downs, you know, peaks and valleys. You know, you talked about the fitness industry with end of the year and, you know, January, everyone wants to get their New Year's resolution. But there are other peaks and valleys in any industry. And one of the things I did when I was in retail is I knew that I had slow seasons. And in those slow seasons, I branched out and I did direct mail pieces. We did a lot with logging equipment, logging business. And I reached out and I did direct mail pieces to Sitka and Ketchikan, Alaska. I did 2 demographic markets. And so in my slow seasons, I was doing direct mail pieces to Alaska and shipping product out. And so when you look at that calendar and you say, okay, you're not just looking at your own strategy, but look at where the low points are and figure out how you can soften the curve, right? Instead of making a right angle, okay, sales are going to dip off and it's going to drop off. What can you do to minimize that? And when you start, once you have a year behind you, 2 years behind you, the more data you have, the easier it is. And the last thing I'm going to say is I did all of this before we had computer technology like we have today. I was doing hand-drawn spreadsheets. I was tracking everything with raw numbers. We have so many tools available to us today, you know, from Canva to Excel spreadsheets. You know, we can become an expert on any and all of these different things with just a little bit of time and effort. And again, being on the offense, Jim, I think it's just awesome. Thinking ahead, being on offense, and being aggressively patient with it all. So great lesson tonight. Thanks.
All right. Well, I can't take credit for the phrase. I took it from Andy Frisella's podcast. And I've heard him say it before over the years, and I try to emulate that. I believe I was probably doing it in my own version of that, but I like how he described it because I get antsy. And I'm one of those people that never take an excuse as a reason not to, you know, continue to move forward. You know, just in the sales world, you know, especially around Christmas time and alcohol business, like, oh, well, we can't sell the small brands during this time of year because all the big guys, they're going to suck up all the air in the room. Well, that's bullshit. I'm going to go find a place to sell stuff. I don't care what they're going to do. I got my plan. I've got my calendar. I've got my programming. I'm going to put it to good use. And I know where the shortcomings are. So don't allow other people to dictate your own success, how you grow, when you grow, and what you do. Get on the offense and do it aggressively, but know that you need to be patient for your business to grow. What I love about this exercise too, again, just looking at some of our members that are on the call tonight, thinking about their businesses, I could give almost every single person on this call an idea to improve their business through this programming or how to make more money at different times of year if they've got a shortcoming. So it's a great tool. All right. Any questions? Let's raise some hands or type them in the notes there. Would love to answer anything. If you don't have a question, I'd like to know who's working on their projects or who's working on a project or who's trying to step up their game and maybe what any of their struggles are. I've got 3 coaching clients right now that I'm really enjoying walking them through step ups and what they're doing. And, they're out there putting the work in. And so we started the first of the year. So I'm already seeing lots of results from them. So who's working on stuff? Heidi, I'm glad you're 1,000% in.
Hang on, I'm gonna chime back in on something. We can add, and I think we should do this. We should add the templates for the programming calendar to the back end of the website. I don't think I've done that yet, so I will do that, and I'll send a note to everybody to let them know that they're there. And the other thing that I want you guys to think about is a lot of business owners don't like to tout their own horn, so to speak. But the importance of your personal brand growing alongside the brand of your business is very important. And that is where that kind of like that third party stamp of credibility comes in. So there are some free places where you can submit yourself, and don't worry, no one here is going to judge you, but there's this thing called Voyage LA, and there's also one like Voyage Chicago and Voyage New York and Voyage Scottsdale and all these different voyage things. If you go on their website, you can submit yourself or a friend, and they'll send you interview questions, you answer them, and then they literally copy and paste them and publish them. And it helps with your SEO, and it's not going to cost you any money. There's another one called Bold Journey. And I can put all these like on the back end because I think that these are tools that you guys should be taking advantage of. There's a lot of free tools out there. And I want to start a document or some sort of library of these types of free tools. Not just for building your own personal brand into your business, but there's other tools that you can be using for your website and that kind of stuff too. So and then once let's say you get one of those interviews published with Voyage or Bold Journey or Shout Out is another one, that can go in your programming calendar. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna, it's Women's History Month. I'm gonna make that interview a part of my programming, and I'm gonna be talking about that. Other publications like the LA Times has something, or if you've got a business journal publication near you, they do like Women Business Awards. It's free to nominate yourself or your friends, and then they're going to publish your picture and a summary of your business in their paper for free. So, I want to make that part of your programming calendar too.
Good job. There's so many ways that you can get aggressive in your business. I was on that podcast I mentioned earlier in the show tonight, the Tequila Aficionado podcast. And when we got off the line, I said, hey, you guys publish a quarterly magazine. Do you guys need any contributors? And this is what Rachel's alluding to, is that there's a lot of ways to get free press. And he says, yeah, we do take contributors. We can't afford to pay anybody yet. Why are you asking? I said, no, I would be interested in contributing an article to you each month. And like, oh my gosh, we'd love to have that. Right. Well, what happens when I get that article published? I get the SEO out of it. It's an online magazine, so that's going to drive traffic. I'll probably buy an ad to support it at a discount because they're not able to pay me. All of a sudden the ads got my website, and my consulting business in the tequila industry is going to go up. Not to mention, it's going to validate me as an authority writing for that magazine. And the reality is, I'm doing them a favor. So there's so many ways that you can dig in and build your business if you just get out of your comfort zone and start building out some programming and getting very creative with what you're able to do. So,
Jim, I love that you said that. I just did the same thing for California Homes magazine, their issue that just came out right now for Modernism Week. And I did it for one of my clients, and I did it for free because it was the right thing to do. And people are like, "Oh, we love the article." I'm like, "Oh my God, people actually saw that." But it's great. I just got to say yes.
Well, you can link those articles back to your website. You can refer to those articles to validate, you as an authority in the industry. If somebody's taken the time to take your story and publish it, right? And by the way, if you can put on your programming calendar, hey, I want to target one article a month to support my business. Taylor's got her face on the screen right now. She might reach out to, I don't even know how many gun enthusiast magazines are out there now, but she might want to reach out to all of them and say, hey, as a female business owner in this industry, I'd love to contribute a free article, once or twice a year, maybe once a month, whatever that looks like. All of a sudden, again, you're doing their work for them. They love that because they're lazy. You're, fresh, new perspective on things. You got a great product, whatever. People are always looking for those opportunities. So this is another one of those things that falls in the get on the offense category and build up your business. So Heidi, you're doing it with your sister company. You've created it. Great. Awesome. Keep it up. So, okay. Well, I'm not going to drag it out. If you got a question, we'll take it. If not, we'll close this thing up. What I would like you to do is go to work and figure out what your programming looks like. And Rachel, I sent an email to remind you about that because I know you're driving, but you don't have to wait for that. You can get a scratch piece of paper out and start to build out the next 12 months and what that looks like. And then when Rachel gives you that nice, pretty document, then you can fill in the blanks or you can make one of your own, right? So anyways, that's where we're at. If you haven't heard our podcast recently, Ron and I have been covering a variety of different topics. They've been well received. I keep watching the numbers go up. If you do listen to it, please share it with a friend. Let people know that you're enjoying it. That helps us get the message out. We'd love to have more people in this group. Don't be afraid to refer people over. We want good people, but we'd love to have them. Yes, it's on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, all the major platforms. So Heidi, because you asked, it's under The Answer Is Yes. The Answer Is Yes podcast. And just look for the ones that Rod and I are going to be hosting. I have some new guests coming up outside of the shows that I do with Rod that I think are going to bring a lot of value to this group. Riley, one of them is a retail expert. And by the way, we talked about having a retail expert on this call later next month. You'll be thrilled to hear from him if you're in the retail industry. So, all right, let's wrap it up. Good to see everybody. Have a great week.
Hey, you guys.
Something.
Wait, I'm going to chime in. Next week, I'm teaching and we're going to be talking all about using AI to grow your business. So we've got I literally have a formal presentation for you guys because I want you to see all these different AI tools come to life and how they work together and how you can use them to grow your business. So that's next week.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Okay, everybody have a great week. Do something. Bye.